Welcome to the Modules for Instructional Strategies, brought to you by the Georgia Department of Education. This is Module 10, covering Environmental Geography, Global Trade Systems, and Environmental Sustainability. In this module, we will look how students can demonstrate mastery of the Georgia Standards of Excellence Standard, Social Studies, World Geography 4, and Element C, through the use of sample lesson ideas with resources. Social Studies, World Geography Standard 4 reads, assess the characteristics, spatial distribution, and migration of human population on the Earth's surface. Element E reads, evaluate how global trade systems impact environmental sustainability in both importing and exporting countries. Examples of this would include plantation farming in Africa and Central and South America, overfishing of global waterways, and international lumber trade. The sample activity demonstrated will not only allow students to satisfy the standard to be covered, but also demonstrate support for the connecting themes and enduring understandings that cross multiple units throughout all social studies courses. The enduring understanding for this module include gain from trade, in which the student will understand that parties trade voluntarily when they expect to gain. Also, production, distribution, and consumption, where the student will understand that the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services produced by the society are affected by the location, customs, beliefs, and laws of that society. The activity presented in this module will have the students first research several topics from the Georgia Standard covered in this module. Second, conduct a goods and services scavenger hunt, of which students will evaluate how global trade has impacted their own food consumption as well as consumption of other goods. Then, they will propose ideas on how the international community could or should respond to the growing impact of globalization. The first thing I would have the students do is to research several of the Georgia Standard topics, such as plantation farming in Africa, Central America, or South America, overfishing that occurs in different maritime communities, especially those in global waterways, and the international lumber trade. The teacher may also present this information if less time is available or if it is more suitable given the teacher's current student population. Note, it is important for the students to understand that these practices impact the environment in which they take place. For example, overfishing can obviously dwindle the fish or sea life population, but it can also destroy, the natural balance that takes place. Illegal lumber trade could impact the vegetation of a particular protected or non-protected area. This background information will be used again in Step 4 of this activity. The main focus of this research is to give the students some background knowledge into the topic as well as provide some conversation as to how these practices impact or affect the environment. Step 2. The next step would be to have students see how global trade impacts their lives. To accomplish this, and for the students to get a quote, real sense of how much global trade actually impacts them, have the student make a list of several goods and services they use on a weekly basis. Place the students in groups of 3 to 4 and have them brainstorm different items they will use and then classify these items as good or services. A T-chart, for example, would be a good way to help the students classify and organize their information. Note, depending on the level of your students or their abilities, you may want to further classify the items listed into perhaps different types of services or different types of goods. Examples of these could include, as far as services, do they go to the dentist? Do they go to school? Do they get their hair cut? And as far as goods, they can look at items that they purchase, such as deodorant, shampoos, soaps, or any other kind of products. Step 3. Next, have the students go to their local grocery store and research the items on their list. First, have them find 3 items that are from Georgia or a neighboring state from 3 different sections. For example, they should not all be food items. They should vary, maybe something a food, maybe something could be a clothing items. Keep in mind that if they do select a food product, the food should not be from the deli section. It should be something that they can find in the aisles. Second, choose any 5 items at random and find out where they were made and distributed. How many miles did it take for them to get to you? And explain how this might be problematic. What we hope to find is that if some items were shipped from a further location, or in other words, if it has taken them more time to travel, this typically will reflect on the expense of the product. Meaning, the more product has had to travel, the more expensive it might be. Step 4. The steps up to this point should provide the students with a good amount of background knowledge to determine or hypothesize how global trade systems work and impact their lives. Now, linking back to what was learned in Step 1, have the students analyze further the impact that globalization is having on the environment. Note, in order to maintain neutrality, as this issue is often politicized, explain that there are positive and negatives to each action. So in Step 4, have the students again work in groups. They could be the same as before, or the teacher may choose to move the students around, and have them hypothesize ways in which countries can and should react to globalization. If the students would like more information, have them go to the World Bank website located at www.worldbank.org and select the Data tab. Once there, have them type in the search box located in the middle, exports or imports as a percentage of GDP. This can give the students some idea of how much each country's GDP is based on either importing or exporting. For example, here shows the world as a whole. We can again click on any one of these countries. Let's choose Argentina. And we can see how their exports in this scenario has drastically increased at the year around 2000 and has slowly been declining. Note, it is important that you allow the students to mention any ideas that they might have. This helps maintain the teacher's role as a neutral party and encourages free thought. Have the students come up with a creative way to present their information or a hypothesis. Once again, this could be a presentation, a poster, or anything that the students think would be a good way to present. Keep in mind that a rubric should also be created. This concludes Module 10.